March 31st, 2016 was the day Tesla unveiled the Model 3 to the world and over-delivered on so many of its promises. Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, 4 years may not be a long time, but just 4 years ago today, we did not know what the Tesla Model 3 would look like, what the range would be, or even the starting price. And I think looking back at it today in hindsight is what makes people so excited for Tesla's announcements now, because there are certain things they're late to, sure, there are certain things they're not quite able to achieve, but substantial moments like the events Elon held on that day that he was successfully able to deliver on is why people have so much faith in this company and in this brand. That's right, at the time they unveiled the Model 3, all there was the original Tesla Roadster, Model S, and, you know, a couple people who had a Model X. Once this thing came out, people were shocked at the idea of a Tesla entering this low a price target, and yeah, it took a long time before that $35,000 model was available, but after rewatching it myself, I realized that for the most part, almost every promise at this presentation was met. Originally, Elon said the Model 3 would have 215 miles of range. Now, the absolute worst possible Model 3 you can get, which starts at $35,000, has a range of 220 miles, estimated by the EPA, and they didn't talk about this at the event, but now the Model 3 can go all the way up to 322 miles, possibly even more later this year. He also promised that every Model 3 would be capable of 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 6 seconds. And that has also held true. The slowest Model 3 is still faster than 6 seconds when it comes to 0 to 60 time. Now, the price was probably the toughest one, because while at this presentation they did say deliveries for the Model 3 would begin at the end of next year, and at the time of unveiling it was March 2016, so end of 2017? Yeah, I mean, technically they did deliver a few Model 3s at that point. There weren't very many, and there were some quality control issues at first, but it was a really tough challenge to get Model 3 to mass production, because way back when they initially unveiled it, they expected that an autonomous assembly line would be able to put these vehicles together almost with no human involvement at all. Of course, Tesla went through production hell, realized that it was cheaper and faster to actually use humans in production, and that's kind of where we are today with the Model 3, and it wasn't until early 2019 that Tesla finally made the $35,000 Model 3 available. So yeah, about a year and a half late on the initial promise of a Model 3 being that affordable, and Tesla has arguably met that goal. See, technically speaking, yes, you can buy a Model 3 for $35,000, but you can't order it from the website. It has to be a special call-in order, and they remove features like autopilot. It still has autopilot hardware, so that initial promise at the Model 3 unveiling is still met, but it's definitely a lot harder to get to than back then when everyone was publishing articles about $35,000 Model 3. Just like every single Model 3 you could buy would be that much, even though most people buying Model 3s these days, yeah, they're easily spending $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 depending on the trim, the upgrades they get. But to be fair, the prototypes they brought out on stage, rewatching them today, I noticed how incredibly close they are. There weren't a lot of huge substantial differences. Probably the biggest, most noticeable ones are the color options. They don't sell the regular silver one anymore, and there never was a matte black version with Model S door handles. And I'm really curious what happened to that Model 3, because it was one of the few, I think the only one, that happened to have the same door handles as a Model S. And also, little fun fact, the Uber turbine wheels that were shown on the red Model 3 prototype, they looked really cool and they were a great showcase for the vehicle, but they weren't available for anyone to buy until the Model Y actually started coming out. Now people are finally getting the Uber turbine wheels, and you still can't get them with the Model 3. I'm sure some people are probably gonna swap them with the Model 3, but yeah, at the time it was great for the showcase, but they did not include those with the Model 3, and they still don't, even with the performance variants. But when it comes to the interior, that 15-inch display, that made it into the production model. The center consoles did look slightly different on the prototypes. In fact, they look better. They had these kind of matte white finishes, and I wish they would bring that to the actual production version. But for the most part, if we're just looking at the grand picture here, Tesla showcased a prototype. People were in love with it. They thought the design was awesome, the fact that they prioritized safety features and still had a glass roof, and they were able to bring so many insanely good benefits of the Model S to a much more obtainable vehicle for all, and the production vehicle was able to beat the expectations of the originally promised prototype, and that can only make me wonder how the Cybertruck is going to beat the original numbers that Tesla unveiled for it last November. So just remember, when people are doubting Tesla or saying, I don't think they're going to be able to achieve those numbers or those specs, it's moments like these that people will look back to and see them as pivotal moments in Tesla's history, because they were able to deliver on something and make sure that it was better than originally promised, and now count countless YouTubers and Model 3s are all over the place just within 4 years. Anytime I go on the road, I more than likely see at least one of them because they're so common. If you're in the California populated areas, you're definitely going to be seeing these things all the time. And that just shows you how much influence and how much change Tesla can truly bring to the market. And just 4 years ago is really not that long. I mean, in the year of 2016, Apple unveiled the iPhone 7, removed the headphone jack, and introduced AirPods, which are now kind of commonplace things we see all the time. That also happened just 4 years ago. So imagining where Tesla is going to be in another 4 years is fascinating. And given this was one of the biggest moments, I think, in the company's history, I thought today would be a great time to just respect it and look back and see how far they've come. Tesla still has this live stream up on their YouTube channel, so feel free to check it out. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have an excellent day. Take care.